Hello and welcome to the Awakening Collective podcast. It is Hayley here. I'm so excited to have you with me for episode 10 of the podcast. We are talking about 5 key practices to support you on your spiritual healing journey because as we heal, I think these fundamental practices are really going to help you emotionally, mentally, physically, and they're really basically those foundations that will help you to move with ease and flow as you have your things coming up, if you have as you have stuff coming up, as you expand and as you grow. So if you can cement in these practices and create habits around these, the day-to-day life that you live as you heal, because stuff comes up whether we like it or not. Our day-to-day life doesn't end. We still have to go to work and look after the kids and cook tea. So these foundations help you to just move through those days with more ease, and it'll help you with energy maintenance and just allow greater ease and flow within your journey. So these 5 things, though, they take practice, they take dedication. It takes you deciding to commit to yourself that you are going to step up and start to really embrace your awakening, embrace your spiritual journey, and embrace the beautiful expansion that you are heralding in and bringing in and living. So, if you can make a promise to yourself to choose yourself, to make yourself a priority, to make your healing a priority, your expansion and your ascension a priority, they don't take a lot of time and effort to do. So, fitting them into your day isn't going to be too hard. Yeah, it's just all about making that commitment to yourself and remembering that you are worthy and you are valuable and you have, a really important job in this world to herald in and bring in light and, allow your soul its progression and help with the progression of humanity. So there we are. So let's get into these 5 practices. So first of all, we just want to make sure that as we move into ascension, we've talked a little bit about the difference between awakening and ascension and being kind of stuck in that awakening pocket. But you've got to remember that it's a choice to do the healing and it's a choice to move into ascension and start growing and stepping into that cycle, which if you haven't heard about that cycle, I think it was either last week or the week before, I talked about the cycle of ascension. And at the end of the day, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And the more that we cement in these practices and embrace our healing and make it something that is helping us and moving us forward rather than a burden, then the easier it's all going to be. So let's talk these 5 key practices. So number 1, self-awareness. So how well do you know yourself, for starters? This is broken into a couple of different parts. How well do you know yourself? How well do you know how you react to situations, what your triggers are at the moment? But even going deeper into that, do you know yourself in terms of learning things like your astrology, numerology, because all of these things help you understand how you process things, how you react to things, different personality traits that can really help propel you forward when you embrace them. We don't have anything by accident. And sometimes we look at our personality traits as flaws, if we're maybe a little bit stubborn or if we're a little bit too determined or, too organized, if that's, I don't believe that's a thing, but, some people find that a hindrance, or people, they've been told that, they're too OCD or whatever it is, but, they're your traits for a reason. And the more we learn about them and learn to embrace them, then they're going to help us on our journey. So how well do you know yourself? And like I said, with your triggers, reactions, and even just looking back over the last 6 months to a year of your healing, what are those themes that come up? What are those sort of identities that you tend to fall into when something happens? Like, I'm big at falling into victim mode. So if anything ever happens, I'm very good at making it poor me and it's not fair. And that's kind of a personality trait and identity that is actually in the family that we tend to fall into when something happens. And also the rebel, like, I'm very good at, you're not going to tell me what to do. My inner teen comes out quite a lot. So if you can look back and just go, okay, well, what are those identities that I fall into when something happens to me and something goes wrong to me. What's the way, do I get really angry straight away? What are the emotions that I fall into first? In our family, again, it's very much around anger and frustration. We fall into a lot and hang on to a lot when something happens. So just really that self-awareness in getting to know who you are. There was a beautiful quote in a book that I was reading called, I think it was Worthy. And she said, when we step into our healing journey, a lot of us stand there saying, well, nobody understands me, nobody gets me. But she says, well, how well do you understand yourself? Right? So, and I was like, oh, yeah, probably a good thing to look into. So yeah, how well do you know yourself? That self-awareness, but also self-awareness in terms of, like I said, looking at how you are reacting. Like if something, really taking personal responsibility. So if you've had a situation come up at work and something happened, what was your contribution to that? What did you put into that sort of dispute or disagreement? How did you show up for that? How did you react in that situation? Taking personal responsibility for the things that you're not happy with in your life. If you're not happy with your finances, if you're having trouble with your kids or your partner, taking personal responsibility and going, how am I reacting, responding, showing up? How am I talking? What's my energy like when I walk into this situation? Because that self-awareness is going to really, if you're not aware of the things that you're doing, you can't really change it. And, we all know that if we don't sort of start looking at things, sometimes they can blow up in our face in a worse way, and we don't want that to happen. So, yeah, taking personal responsibility. So that's number one, self-awareness and personal responsibility. Number two, learning to hold space for yourself. So this is really about when healing is coming up for you. Humans have a really amazing way, and this is something that we all tend to do without thinking about it. We really attach to what's going on, and we make it so massive and so I don't know, important's the wrong word, but we tend to really just hold on to what's going on and make it just this big drama, and we don't need to do that. Healing comes up, the stuff that happens, and if we can learn to sit and hold space for our emotions and our healing and ourselves in compassion and love, and just take that moment, it can just disappear so easily. What we tend to do is when we're healing, our emotions come up, situations happened, we drag it with us for days, sometimes months, when really in a couple of hours, 10 minutes sometimes, it could have come in, filtered through and left, and we could be getting on with our day. And this is, I think, one of the biggest reasons people find healing and awakening such a burden, is because instead of allowing and holding space for what's coming up, they attach to it and make it mean something, and oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, and then it drags with them for way longer than it needs to. So how do we do this? How do we hold space? So in terms of emotion, usually with healing, a lot of emotion comes up, and it's just about learning to feel it. It's, learning to allow. I was reading something the other day, or I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how emotions, if you just let them be, they last anywhere between 30 to 90 seconds. That's it. And then it's gone. If you allow it to filter and it doesn't stay in the body, the energy doesn't stay in the field, like in your energetic field. So 90 seconds. So if you start to feel an emotion coming up, let's say something happens and you get really angry, just let that anger come up. Allow yourself to feel it. I mean, stick a timer on if you want to for 90 seconds and just allow it to come up, feel it, filter through and dissipate. Same with sadness. If sadness, or if somebody makes you feel really embarrassed, like feel that sense of embarrassment, allow it, and then let it filter through. See, what happens is when we feel that embarrassment, we start to go, oh, because your mind comes in, that's, why did you do that? And so that attaches to it then. And then we go home and then we sit at home going, oh, why am I feeling this way? And then because we are on a healing journey, we start delving into where did it, maybe you start, where did it come from and where's it come from? And I thought I'd healed this, and all of this stuff starts running through your field, through your mind. Then we bring in more emotions because we start getting angry, we start getting frustrated, we get sad that we haven't healed something that we thought we'd healed. And really, if we had have just let ourselves be embarrassed for a minute and then let it filter through, it'd all be over. So really allowing yourself to hold space for those emotions and for your healing. If you're going through a major shift at the moment, if you're really clearing like a huge belief or something massive's changing in your life, just breathe through it. Again, we don't have to be attaching to everything and making it and I don't want to say a big deal, because stuff is a big deal, but just allowing it that compassion and allowing it to just be what it is, rather than making it something wrong. I think that's what we do. We make it something wrong or something that's inconvenient. And really, it's just a beautiful thing that's happening. If you've got emotions releasing, if you've got things in your life that are changing for the better, as much as it is an emotional upheaval, we just want to allow it to be what it is, which is just a beautiful blessing that has come to us to help us shift into higher states of consciousness, right? So also with emotions, what I like to do if you are having trouble, if you feel an emotion coming up, take a big deep breath. Like, let's say, something happens and you have this big waft of sadness just come into your field. Take a deep breath and I sort of see it not really detaching, because what happens with emotions is they can become all consuming to your energy. So it sort of takes over your entire energy field. So if you allow this sadness to come in, and what I do is I like to bring it from my body into the front of me, sort of like in a ball. So it's still attached to my field. So I can still actually feel it. I can still feel into the sadness, but it's not taking over my entire energy body. And then I allow myself to sit with that sadness in front of me, in front of my heart space. So it's still attached to me, but it's more like I've brought it into a ball and pushed it into the very edge of my field, if that makes sense, the very edge of my aura. So it's still connected. I can still feel it, but it's not within my whole body and energy system. And then I just allow myself to feel it until it starts to dissipate. And then I just ask my higher self, my guides, my angels, to take it and transmute it. And so it's about really learning to hold that space for your emotions, having that compassion and that understanding, and not attaching too much into it, which means not making it bigger and bigger and bigger and making a mountain into a molehill. So not keep playing things over in your mind to, like I said, if an emotion comes up or if something happens, to keep going on and into it. And, is it this? Is it that? What am I going to do? Oh, it's wrecking my day. I've got to do this later, and I've got to do that later, and just allowing yourself to be in that space. So that's number 2, holding space. Number 3, connecting to and clearing your energy. So every single day, I would recommend waking up in the morning and when you go to bed at night, just checking into your own energy field. And the more you learn, it's like I was saying before, this is about practice and it's about daily ritual, because the more you do it, the more you can feel into it, the stronger the feelings get, and the easier it is for you to do this and feel into it. So just sitting with your energy, feeling into if any bits are feeling off. Like sometimes if you sit and just tune into your energy body, you can feel, different tingles on one side. Maybe it's colder on one side. Maybe you feel a bit lopsided and a bit heavier on one side. And just really learning to tune into that and asking your higher self or your guides and angels, whatever feels comfortable to you, to just come in and filter out what's not needed, filter out any emotions that don't belong to you, any expectations, any projections that you've put on yourself or that others have put on you that are just not needed, and filter all those out in the way that you like. And you can do this by actually using your hands to pull things out of your field. You can do it by asking your guides, your angels, your higher self to just filter through golden light or your source light, and either filter it down into Mother Earth or to you filter it upwards, whatever it is that you do. You can use sage or incense, whatever it is that you like to do, just to really clear anything that you do not need out of your field, because we collect so much stuff during our day, of other people's in the office, of our kids, emotions. If something's happened during the day, like I said, if we're not filtering those emotions, we take them on. Again, projections, expectations. We open timelines that and trajectories that have a energetic cord that stay open. So if you've been having like ideas all day, or you've had a fight with your husband and you're going, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to say this and then I'm going to do this, and all these timelines or trajectories keep opening of the conversations that you're going to have when you get home, opens all different timelines, they're still running. So chopping those off even and getting rid of those so that, you don't have all of this energy leaking out of you, attachments to other people that you've had during that day, that energy may still be leaking out to you. So it's really important to be clearing out your energy every day, but also understanding your energy. What that feels like to you or looks like to you, depending on how you get information in. So, that is number 3, connecting to and clearing your energy on a daily basis. And I do recommend doing that morning and nighttime too. Excuse me. So, the next is working on your intuition and connection to spirit. Intuition is not a gift. It is a gift, but it's not a gift. It's something, I was brought to believe that it's a gift and that only special people have it. And it's this special party trick that all these, really awesome people do that none of us have, but it's not. It's an innate wisdom. It's an innate navigation system that we have, that we were all born with, so that we could stay on our highest timeline, so that we could move in joy, so that we could move in alignment. And, that doesn't happen because you don't get taught to use it. You don't get taught what it is. You don't know what it is. And so we all sort of lose that connection to our intuition and lose that connection to spirit. So, if we want to be living in our highest timeline, if we want to be living in joy, if we want to be in alignment with what we came here to do, we need to harness in that intuition and that connection to spirit so that we can be guided on the right path to take, the right actions to take in order for us to move forward. So really making an effort and making it a practice and a dedication, at least a few times a week, to connect to spirit, whether that be through meditation, through cards, however that looks like to you. But also making sure, the number one way that you can actually heighten and strengthen your intuition is to follow it. Yeah, if you want your intuition to get stronger, actually follow it. If you get an intuitive nudge to do something, then do it. And then the next one will come in faster and harder the more that you actually follow what you're being guided to do. That's, so many people have intuition. I talk to so many people who are like, oh, I can't do it. It's not strong enough. And it's like, well, it is, but you're just not following. How many times have you picked up a card, done some cards for yourself, and it said, let's say, walk in nature. And I have people come to me saying, oh God, walk in nature, I've had that card every day for the last 5 days. And it's like, well, have you walked in nature yet? Why do I keep getting this sign? Why do I keep getting them telling me to walk in nature? Well, have you done it? No. Well, maybe then you should, because once you've done that, then they'll give you the next step. Your intuition will give you the next step. Your guides will give you the next step. But if you're not going to follow it, then that stream of trust between you and them and you and your higher self isn't going to be strong, right? So we want to make sure we're strengthening that intuition, that connection, and actually following the guidance, because that's what it's there for. It's that navigation system that's aligning you to what you came here to do and be, and to your soul's path. So the last thing is to take care of and honor your physical body. This is the part where everyone goes, bleh, because it's hard. We've all gotten into a lot of bad habits, and, we live in a society where it's easier to eat terribly, because the food's cheaper most of the time. When you go in and you find something on special, it's usually a 2-for-1 chocolate bar offer or bag of chips. So society doesn't make it easy for us to look after our physical bodies. Consensus, socially doesn't allow us to look after our physical bodies well. And it just gets too hard to do the right things. But if you are not taking care of your basic physical needs, this is something that I encourage you to start thinking about. And I'm not saying go plant-based or vegan, or, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about making sure that you're getting good quality sleep, making sure that you are moving your body, making sure that you are putting foods in your body that align with you, because there's so many times, and the physical part of my health and the physical part of my spirituality has been tricky for me over the last few years. And so, I get it, but we know the foods that don't make us feel good. We know the foods that make us grumpy. We know the foods that make us feel sluggish. We know the foods that wreck our brain capacity. Sugar is one of those that when we have too much of it, it brain fogs us, and it doesn't help us sleep well, which then in turn makes it worse. So, and that's especially, maybe you're good with sugar. Maybe sugar doesn't do anything to you, but for most people I know, it's a big problem. And it has been a problem. So just making sure that you're honoring and standing in integrity with what you should be doing with your physical body, because again, that's intuition. And if you're not going to be listening to your intuition, it's not going to get stronger. And if your intuition's telling you, please don't eat that, I don't know, bread, because, that bread's going to make you feel sluggish. It's going to make you feel tired. It's going to slow you down this afternoon. You're not going to have as much energy to finish the work that you have to do, whatever it is, then don't do it. Find an alternative, find something different, because that's your intuition telling you and your body telling you, please don't eat this. And again, like I said, the more you listen to your intuition, the stronger and harder it's going to come in. If you're not listening, when you keep telling somebody, your kids, to go and pick up their shoes over and over and over again, and eventually they don't do it, you just end up doing it yourself because, you're wasting your breath. And as much as people believe that their guides are just standing next to them 24 hours a day waiting to give them some information, that's not how it works. Most of your guides are aspects of you who have other things that they're doing. They have other lives that they're living, and they're not always going to just hang around waiting if they know that you're not ready. And I'm not, if you're not ready to do that, if you're not ready to make the choice to listen, we need to be ready to show the universe and to show our guides, to show that we are willing to do what we need to do to align. So there we go. So we've got our 5 key practices. Number 1, self-awareness and personal responsibility. Number 2, holding space and the art of non-attachment. So just allowing yourself compassion and grace, both with your emotions and within your healing, so that we are not getting all consumed by it and dragging healing and emotions along with us for weeks and months when we don't need to. Remember, 90 seconds is all it takes to filter through an emotion. Next, connecting to and clearing out your energy. So really getting used to sitting in what that feels like, what your energy feels like to you, and clearing that out on a daily basis, so we're not carrying around stuff that doesn't belong to us or that we don't need. Number 4, our intuition and connection. So really starting to strengthen that and actually listen to it, because that goes with holding space too, right? So if you've got something coming up, and this happened to me, like an example, this is probably about 6 months ago now, I was going through a huge shift in self-love. And then so I'd had, one of those big ego death type situations, and I was on my cupboard floor just bawling my eyes out, super ugly crying, and I could have stayed in that for days. I could have done what like I said, with self-awareness, what do I do? When I have something like that come, one of my biggest things is to just go into victim mode. And I could have gone into victim mode and felt sorry for myself. I could have hung on to those deep emotions. I could have held on to whatever it was that was coming up and dragged it with me for a week, just feeling sorry for myself and heavy and low and sad. But instead I had a big cry, and then I said, okay, body, energy, what do you need now? And my intuition said, get in the shower. So I went and I had a nice big long hot shower. I got out of the shower, I got dressed. Okay, body, emotions, what do you need right now? And it said to me, it's time to cook tea, because it was on tea time. I've got 3 kids, so I've got to cook tea. And they said, go out and cook tea and put on some old school music. So I went out and I put on NSYNC as loud as I could, and I danced around the kitchen, because the sooner we can get back into joy, the sooner we shift out of that. And so, using your intuition and connection to help you to hold space and move out of, a deep shift quickly is what's going to be one of the biggest keys to moving with ease and flow. Yeah. So I could have dragged that with me for a week. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have. But in learning how to use my intuition and to follow it and to help it to hold space for myself and connect in and to turn it around, that's the key elements that are going to help you find that ease and flow. So sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but so 4, intuition and connection to spirit, and then 5, making sure that you're taking care of and honoring your physical body's needs. Sleep, rest, water, food that you know aligns with your guts, yeah, and movement. So, yeah. Oh, I was going to add a bonus, which is discernment, just really, really quickly. Learning discernment, especially in the world that we are living with right now. But this kind of comes down to your intuition. You know, if something doesn't agree with you, if you're listening to something and you feel that pang of intuition, like this isn't right, no, this isn't for me, then drop it. And it doesn't matter whether it's, you know, somebody like me talking about this stuff. If it doesn't connect with you, then it doesn't mean you have to do it. You know, it's if something's going on the news, really listen into it with your intuition, with your energy, and go, okay, does this feel right? Does it not? Even in situations within your family, within something that's going on at work, use your energy to discern what is right for you and what feels aligned and what feels truth and what doesn't, because that's going to help you moving forward too. Anywho, have an amazing rest of your day or night, whatever you're doing. Have a great week. If you have any questions, you can always email me at awakeningcollective@outlook.com. Or come and join us over in the collective membership. And I will see you next week. See you then. Bye.